Hey everybody, welcome back to Squadzilla. And today we watched a certain film that Tom and Jax have been hyping up to me. For those who don't know, it's been like 3 weeks since we recorded our last episode because I've been having a bunch of life stuff happening, and we finally got around to it. But leading up to tonight, it's funny because Tom and Jax are like, "Oh yeah, we gotta watch this one. Oh yeah, this is the one. All right, why are you delaying this one in particular? Come on, Saber, let's watch it." So we finally watched it, and which film was it, guys?
We watched
Astro
Invasion
Boy.
of Astro Boy, Tezuka's masterpiece. Yeah, no, Invasion of the
Crossover of the
Astro-Monster.
decade.
Oh yeah, it's fucking wild, dude. Yeah, dude, Invasion of the Astro-Monster. It's where things start getting really fucking crazy, and I've said that like 3 times, but like this is like there's degrees. There's degrees to this shift from this is a serious movie to this is whatever the fuck we want it to be. You don't know what you're gonna get anymore. And this movie starts out with aliens, and it just gets weirder from there, and it's pretty fucking sick. I was saying before we started watching it, like this is one of the Showa series that really stands out in my memory, just because like there's a lot of very kind of like iconic things in it in terms of just like visual design and like uh, alien design and stuff like that. So like there's a lot of like dead space and kind of in the middle of the movie, but like the beginning and the end are very like I can remember them verbatim even before watching it again. That's just like very indicative of the time it was made, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much. Because like this whole movie, like, the whole thing I always remember about this movie was just that iconic like Godzilla just hopping around like a freaking, just like jumping around like a freaking ape, like he was having fun with it. And then like just the whole thing of like, oh no, we got these aliens and these goofy clothes, like Tom said, like that always stuck out to me. Just their designs of just how they looked and stuff like that. And the fact that they actually had like an American person in this movie, but they dubbed him over, like they're like because usually we're just so used to just all having a bunch of Japanese, full Japanese cast, and then this was one where they had like an American person as one of the main characters who was through the entire movie, not just like in clips, and then like he was dubbed over in Japanese. So like when you watch the dub version, he's speaking English normally, and everyone else is dubbed over. So like that's just like a cool little thing that when watching this movie I always took back. But
The
yeah,
first time an American actor was in a Godzilla movie that was not blatantly added in post to make the dub more palatable for an American audience.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's
This movie
freaking
this movie got so campy and so influenced by American culture that they felt no need to westernize it because it was already westernized itself from the get-go.
yeah, seriously. Though, 'cause, I mean, this movie, like honestly, when rewatching it just now, like first off, it is as Saber said when we were watching it, there are just slow parts, and Tommy said it too. Like there's just some parts that are just like, okay, this is slow as fuck. Like especially
Yeah.
what you gotta deal with. Like there's just like the big spaces of time where like we've like gauged it by this point where every 30 minutes it's just like okay Godzilla's gonna appear 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and usually that's just like when the movie starts picking up, and then it's like a test of is the movie holding you or is the movie like not doing its job, like are you invested in these other characters, because if you're not then okay you're gonna have a like rough time, but like when Godzilla shows up you're pretty good. But then with this movie it was kind of like a bit of hit and miss with it because there's certain scenes where I'm just like, okay, this is kind of interesting. We're trying to find a cure for cancer, and we're going to this planet X, which is behind Jupiter, because they got some Dragon Ball Z ships, which get them there in like 5 hours. Or, what was it? It was something ridiculous, right? Like something like 5 days
They
or
were
something.
hauling ass pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something ridiculous. Like they're able to get to like Earth to Jupiter, and then Saber like Googled it. It was like actually 6 years to actually do that in real life. And like this thing, they're able to just blitz there like a Dragon Ball Z ship. And so they're going there and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna get the cure for cancer, which is such a massive thing. And the aliens like, oh yeah, we need that, well, but we need your monsters. So well, because Ghidorah, he's just messing stuff up over here and we don't like that, so can you bring us some monsters to fight him? They're like, oh okay, we'll trade you Godzilla and Rodan for the cure for cancer. That sounds like a good trade, haha. And so they do it, and then that's when the fun happens. But then the aliens are like, no, we're freaking evil. And it is one of those movies where, as a kid, I remember being like not shocked by the fact that the aliens were bad or something like that. It's just from the way they looked and designed. Just they had these freaking cyclop visors on and walking around in these. I don't know how to describe their outfits.
This movie came out in 1965, right? And this is like, the space race, everything's going on. So this is like very much influenced by that kind of like cultural imagination of space travel, right? Because the movie starts with like the Space Authority, which is
better than Space Force.
Better name than Space Force. Like they flash their Space Authority cred halfway through the movie, and the military instantly parts ways. It's like, oh god, the Space Authority's here. We gotta do what they say. So clearly the most base name for your space program ever. But it starts with like them going into space, and they're like exploring to find this new planet, and it's like it's very much indicative of like kind of the imagination of space travel at the time. But like just the aesthetic of everything in the beginning of this movie is so on point with the aesthetic of that time, because like you have the very stereotypical like bubbly flying saucers with like the cheesy like not even an exaggeration, that's what everything sounds like in this movie.
It's like very Star Trek-y.
A cheesy 60s sci-fi, and like the aliens have these dopey visors and like little antennas coming out of their heads, and it's just so perfect. It is so perfectly like just a time capsule of what the imagination was at that time. And it's just like the story really drags, but the first like 20 minutes just for the aesthetic and the kind of just like nuts balls to the wall like spectacle of it all is so fucking cool. And like to this day I remember everything, like the fucking elevators coming out of like the crust of the planet and all this stuff, and like them guiding them through these tunnels with the lights and stuff, and like the like woo kind of music in the background that's just so indicative of like that era. It's just like, I don't know, just so.
No, it's very memorable with that like techie stuff, because like the thing I always remembered a lot from the kid was when that girl got zapped, because I was just like, oh shit, like, because like they like in this movie, the American actor is hooking up with this Japanese girl who you later find out to be like an alien girl, because all the aliens on their planet all the females aliens on their planet look the exact same. And
that misogyny going, all women are objects and easily replaceable and disposable. I'm just saying.
This is freaking 60s Godzilla. That misogyny is like, what is this, like the 6th time in a row now? It's ridiculous.
Every single one. We're talking about how.
But to be fair, it was aliens this time. It was not us. All right. We're getting a little bit more progressive, baby steps, but we're getting there.
Progressive, little piece by piece.
Which monsters were in this one, guys?
Freaking Rodan was in it, Ghidorah, of course, and then of course, of course, you wouldn't have a movie without Gamera. Like he just came out. I mean, Godzilla, of course. Yeah, freaking Godzilla, OG. And it's funny because like this movie was the first movie that like they actually gave Godzilla like super fight skills. Like in the other movies before, he would just kind of just he'd roar, he'd tail whip you, and he'd tackle you. In this movie, he's actually got footwork. He's like bobbing and weaving. He's like running. He's doing like double unders and shit like that, doing like all these actual like martial arts.
Yeah, he was a lot more
hysterical.
He wasn't just some lumbering giant this time. He was like shuffling his feet and throwing fists with Ghidorah, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like this hilarious because like again like these movies, as Tommy said before, like they're starting to make the monsters, the kaiju, more anthropomorphized, where they like have human character traits, or like just animal traits or anything like that. And then they think there's this great scene where like all the humans are going back to Earth for the cure for cancer. And then like Godzilla and Rodan are just looking like, what the fuck? They leaving us? Who the fuck? Were you leaving us at? They just like staring at him, and it's just like, sorry. And it felt like very real. Like, no, wait, you actually leaving us here? Like Tommy was saying, like, oh, you leave me in summer camp, Mom. What the heck is going on here? So
they actually look pathetic. Like you're floating away, and they're looking up at you like, Mom.
Dad.
It's not even
from the milk store.
It's not, to be clear, it's not even like this. It's shot like that to make you feel like that. The actors in the movie are commenting like, "Oh God, they look so sad," and it's just like, all right.
It feels that way.
Those things destroy cities. Remember, like Let's not have too
Yeah,
much
they caused you
empathy for him.
cancer. Like literally, you got the cure for quote cure for cancer before they found out they got freaking gypped. But it was like the freaking whole thing is like Godzilla wherever he walks, he leaves like radiation. So it's like, are you sure you want to like leave it? Because I can see like the double-edged sword of that, of just like, okay, well, if another monster shows up, well, we have our monster to take out that monster, but our monster just decides to destroy whenever he freaking feels like. So it's just like it's not like this is the Godzilla who hasn't become like later on, as we'll see, like this superhero, like a hero of the day, like, oh, I'm Godzilla, don't worry, I'll save the day or something like that. This is more just like he's still in that neutral vein. Like before, like in each movie you see him just gradually become more and more like chill, or just like, okay, like the first movie is just like I'm a force of nature, I just want to destroy everything, I don't care, whatever, it's really dark, it's scary and all that. Second movie is just like, okay, I'm fighting this freaking ankylosaurus mother effer right here, but like I'm still just kind of scary, but whatever. And then third movie, fourth movie, fifth movie, it's just like he's just becoming more and more tame as each movie goes on. And then these movies right here, like we were talking about before, was just saying like how he's just become more just anthropomorphized, where he's just like, I'm just a guy just trying to live my life. I got kidnapped and got thrown on an alien planet. I was just vibing in the ocean, my guy. Like, well, why are you messing with me? Like,
Yeah, he was sleeping. So was Rodan. They're both just sleeping. So if I can share my thoughts as an outsider, I thought the tone in this movie, as you all were talking about earlier, like it shifted. It's becoming a lot more campy, and it's always been campy from the second film onward, but now it's like exponentially getting even crazier. Like before, it was, oh, it's the humans of Earth dealing with these monsters, whether it's some guy trying to sell Mothra's egg, or it's a bunch of newspaper people or whatever. But now it's like aliens. Okay, like they're aliens wearing little visors. The body, not body snatchers, but like they're showing up on Earth and screwing with the monsters. You got Monster X, like right off the bat. Like Tom even said it. You're like, give it a few minutes and you'll realize how different this film is. And you were right. Like you were absolutely right. I'm like, okay, these are more cheesy and kind of remind me of like, as an outsider seeing Godzilla films, I'm like, okay, those look kind of goofy and funny and wonky and all those wonderful words. And and after watching this one, I'm like, okay, if these eras of Godzilla films are, if they can indicate like the future, I'm bracing myself right now for even sillier moments as we move forward.
Yeah, no, dude, there's one in particular Tommy knows about, with a certain ocean scene of two characters. You know what I'm talking about, Tom?
I know what you're talking
Yes, it's
about.
beautiful. Like that is one scene I am like super hyped for Saber to see when we get to it. But like, yeah, these movies just progressively get more and more goofy before they like pick up and get just become really badass again. Like they're still fun. Like to us, like we're all Godzilla geeks, so we just enjoying the movie, just see Godzilla do his thing. But like to like an outside viewer who's just like if you put this on with your girl, right? And then you're like, let's say you're a Godzilla fan, but someone else is just like, oh, I like King of Monsters, so let's watch this. And she wasn't like super into it. She's like, this is some goofy stuff, but it's just like, yeah, babe, it's freaking awesome, ain't it? And she's like, okay. And so it's just, it really depends on like if you have a taste for this sort of thing. Because this movie, again, I can't stress it enough. Tone shift, as Saber said, very very just like out there, as Tommy said. And then it's just it's entertaining at the end. Like the ending is just super, because like freaking they're activating this sound wave to destroy the
It's like Mars
aliens and
Attack.
stuff like that. Yeah, Mars Attacks. They pulled a Mars. Well, yeah, Mars Attacks. Copy this movie then. Well, whatever. But like, yeah, they freaking pulled that on the aliens, and then they freaking crash and die. And it's just like, yeah, the humans effective. And even Saber was saying like, oh, the tanks are effective because they're shooting things out of the sky, and it's just like so valid. And then Tommy brought up a good point of just like, what's the stupid weakness? What's the worst weakness? The freaking these aliens are the ones from Signs. And it's just like, yeah, they're, why would you come to Earth if you have this stupid weakness? It's so ridiculous. But if you get past all the slow stuff, ending is always like, I think like every Godzilla movie ending is just always going to be enjoyable, just because it's always great to see Godzilla go ham on the final monster with like whatever monsters are with him. It's just always, that's the bread and butter of these movies. That's what gets you in the seat to enjoy them. But like, you know, the rest of the movie, I would say like, it was as an adult rewatching it now, I would say to me like the dragging part did hit a lot harder now. I don't know why, like it just was not like grabbing me as before. Like everything else, like the aesthetic was grabbing me. I'm like, okay, this is cool. But then sometimes you just have like characters talking or the plot wasn't moving. It was just super slow. And then I was just like, okay, let's get to Godzilla. So, and in that regard, I thought it was pretty weak in that regard.
Agreed. Any final notes about this?
I feel like the reason I'm totally making this up because I'm just kind of speculating, but I feel like the reason there was a lot of like just dragging in the middle of the movie, because like usually there's kind of like a couple scenes of like monster stuff to intersperse between the plot, and this they kind of had the initial conflict on Planet X, which was very short. It was just like they brought the monsters there was a small little skirmish, and that was it. Because the plot is that they basically bait and switch humanity to let them bring Rodan and Godzilla to Planet X to control them, like they're doing with Ghidorah, and then stick all of them on Earth to kind of like enslave all of humanity. Like a very cheesy, you know, sci-fi plot. But I feel like the reason there was so much dead space is that like at the end, there's a huge long scene of all three of them going and destroying everything all at once. And the miniatures are way more detailed than like what has been shown in a lot of the other movies. Like there's a tons of like extra debris and like there's close-up shots of individual pieces of like brick falling off buildings, and then they kind of like composite some people running around inside the buildings as it's coming down as they're destroying the miniature. And the suits look a lot better too compared to like some of the other stuff. So I just feel like they like put all the kind of like production budget into that last section of like all of them being controlled and attacking, breaking the control, and then the final fight, and like really putting a lot of the production value into that, because that last like 20 or so minutes is fucking dope.
Yeah, that I was having fun with that. Yeah. In the middle of the movie with them going back and forth between SpaceX. Oh wow! I just said that unironically. I said that.
Planet X, dude.
Planet X. Elon's there. He's the one in charge of Ghidorah. We all know now.
Elon's like a human computer, so he's the controller that's controlling everybody.
Oh my god! No, his new child is going to be the controller of Ghidorah.
God.
But yeah, the
breaking the conditioning.
Who will answer the Ghidorah control? We need a Godzilla kid. But this movie in its entirety had really fun moments. The end was a roller coaster, very enjoyable. Middle drags a bit. Human characters aren't as engaging. A lot of Godzilla tropes in this movie, but that's part of the fun. But all in all, though, I feel like the action's starting to get more crazy. And I'm okay with that. It's like these are the films that kind of set that tone to begin with the crazy, you know, oh, it's Godzilla, and running around and blowing up buildings and little plastic tanks shooting rounds that don't do anything to guys in rubber suits. So I'm so excited for the next film, which I want to ask you all, what is it?
Tommy, you know, right off the top of your head, right? Because for me, like I can like when it to me it's like a click. Isn't it Abira? Isn't it Abira?
I believe Abira Horror of the Deep is the next movie.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones from when I was a kid. For some reason, I love that movie as a kid. So maybe
is it the lobster?
Maybe the
lobster one. Yeah.
We go from fighting
that one as a kid for some reason. It made me laugh a lot as a kid. So.
Cool. All right, folks. Well, that is it for this episode. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Later.